back again. And so much has happened since I last spent time reading and Bible studying, land missions, and harvest. Who would have believed that as I started my process of ordination, we would end up with great joy after ordaining, being involved in St. Mary, and then yet immediately went into ordination. For 2 years we suffered. They're beginning to come out of it, and now we're watching a war in Europe. One of the members of our parish fevered, and so all of us are wearing ribbons in solidarity with Ukraine. The emotions we feel these days must range from joy for most of us, to sadness, fear, and depression in removal. At times, I find it hard to remember the joy of being ordained in the midst of the events of the world. It seems as if simple things have become more difficult than they ever were before. In the gospel today, I'm sure the range of emotions that Jesus felt are much as we experience today. Fear, anger, and disappointment. The gospel opens with a warning to Jesus. Leave because they're out to get you. They're going to kill you. There must have been a sense of danger and fear as Jesus hears this threat. Jesus does not have any respect for Herod and calls him a fox. Foxes are known to be sly and cunning. Jesus' message has not been particularly popular with the leaders. They decided that getting rid of him has become a necessity. So like a fox, they plan to kill Jesus as soon as they can. But Jesus has absolutely no plans to stay away from Jerusalem. He is the plague moving to that place that we heard is known for killing prophets. He is on a sacred journey. His lament for Jerusalem is steeped in history, as we heard. The sacred place is the home of many of the most important events that happened in the Jewish people's history. Jesus must have been angry and frustrated with the failure of the people to listen, and their continued preference to kill the prophets, rather than respond to their call to repent. Using the image of a mother hen, Jesus laments the fact that the prophets before him and now him weren't able to gather together the children to say, come on, get under my wing. Come, let me protect you. The image of a mother hen gathering her children is both peaceful and comforting. It comforts the mother to have her children safe and peaceful after the chicks feel how it must be to be close to their mother, to feel that sense of being protected. It's interesting to note that the first image of a fox and this image of a mother hen can be used to define the lament Jesus is giving the city of Jerusalem. The leaders of the temple and the Roman authorities are like that fox. They're out to get the chickens. And the chickens refuse to listen. They'd much rather be out there chasing insects, playing with one another. They don't want to bother to come in. Just like us, we refuse to listen. We'd rather go about our own business, doing our own things, instead of listening. So like a mother bird who calls the chickens, the prophets tried to call the people back, and they just didn't want to change. Why is this message so hard to hear? Who wouldn't want to be safe and protected? Mostly like the chickens, we're having way too much fun eating, racing around to pay attention to that. The message of Jesus is one that requires us to do things we don't want to do. It's to call to follow those 2 commandments that we read earlier in the service. Love God and love your neighbor as yourself. I bet you've heard those before. I bet they're not new to anybody. Yet why are they so hard? It sounds easy. All we have to do is love God. No? Don't we all love God? Sort of. What does it mean to love God with your whole heart? Do I keep God front and center in my life? Do I listen for guidance in response to my prayers? Or I decide that, well, I can listen today, but tomorrow, well, I really didn't like what he had to say to me, so I'll just not listen today. Loving others myself. Well, I do okay with my friends and family. I love you all. But then I'd rather not have to love someone who is different than me, or someone that I decide is unlovable. You don't expect me to love those people, do you? Do I need to respond to anyone who asks, calls? It's a little harder, doesn't it? The list can go on and on and on about all the ways we can waffle. Oh, who do we love? Who don't we love? What do we need to do today? How do we respond? Now we find ourselves in a world that is struggling with what it means to love one another. COVID is beginning to subside. We're beginning to find ways to return to normal, whatever normal is going to mean, and then a war breaks out. Now how do we get back to normal? Quit listening to the news? Do we pretend it's not there? Is that realistic? If anything, the past 2 years have shown us all the places and ways that we don't want to follow these commandments. We cannot go back. We can never forget the George words. We can never forget the phrase, the marches, the demands for change. But do we still want to follow those 2 commandments? We are in Lent, and this is the time we are called to stop and listen. Hear the cries of God's children, and above all, listen to Jesus' response.